All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. Make sure you subscribe. Today we got a really cool guest. This is like two interviews in one. How many people can you say were part of a legendary punk band and then went on to be part of a legendary metal band? The answer and the party starts right after this. All right, live from his batting cage in New York City, let's meet Ross the Boss.
Hey, what's up?
All right, Ross, I'm really glad that you're able to do this.
No problem, man.
So, Ross, we're gonna start with the Dictators. Like I said, your career, some people would be lucky to have one, but then you have two that are well known, and then all the other things that you've done as well.
Yeah, I keep myself busy.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out, because people are going to say, what is that racket behind you? You own a batting cage in New York.
And thank goodness I own this batting cage over the past 2 years. Yes.
Yeah.
We're called the cage, 1,000 square feet, and we've been here for 16 years. And thank God everything's good. We managed to open last year and not take too much damage. It was a big hit, but we're still here.
How amazing to have something for 16 years in New York where, 16 months is a challenge.
Yeah, New York has become very, how can I say, challenging? Is that the word? Yeah, it's been challenging here in the city. The decline, the crime, everything, people moving out in droves. It's hard watching my city happen to it. But hopefully we get some new leadership in here and things out.
Yeah, it seems like some change needs to happen. I'm a New Yorker myself. I was born in the Bronx, just like you. And so obviously Dictators is a part of my life. I feel that Dictators is a band, if you know, the cool people know. People realize that the Dictators came out before the punk movement really even took off. First album comes out a year before the Ramones record does. There's not really much going on. Maybe the Dolls are out, but that's about it. You guys are really pioneers. And so I think a lot of people watching might not know the history of the Dictators. And it's a little bit of a confusing history as well. So that's what I want to talk about. You guys meet each other in 1973. Tell me a little bit about the beginning of that band.
Well, I was in a high school band, like very hippie-esque kind of a jam band, but cool, doing cool songs. And they were based up in New Paltz, New York, after we all left high school, and in the Bronx. And New Paltz is a state university, like 70 miles up the thruway, and it was known as one of the biggest party schools in the nation, next to UCLA. And New Paltz was wild back then. And I wasn't attending the school. I was just playing in the band. The band got a house. They would give parties and people would come, and it was just insane. It was like, money didn't matter. We just had, it was just guys were selling heroin, not pot, marijuana, and it was just crazy, crazy college days, 70. And I met this guy, Andy Chernoff. He used to come to our gigs and everything, and we started talking, and he said, you should get another band. And I tell him, I think it's time for another band. And so I'm talking to Andy and go, well, let's put our heads together and see what we can do. Like, I'm the only one. Andy never played bass. He never played anything. He never was in a band before. I've been in bands since I'm 13. And so we decided to do a thing, invent a band, form a band. And we had a friend down in the Bronx. Andy had a friend, Scott Kempner. I went to D. Clinton High School. You know where that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And Scott went to Bronx Science. So he was really smart guy. You had to take a test to get into that school. So he was really smart. So we called him and we told him, no, you're not going to college, any college. You're going to go play in the band with us. We're going to become superstars, man. Little bit, you know. But so Scott came up, and Scott had never played guitar really, and he was never in a band. So I got two guys that have never. I started teaching them, and he got a guitar and he got a bass, teaching them really well, and we got a house. I got us a house in the woods someplace because I figured I didn't want to insult anyone with our music because we'd be. It was a place in a town called Cohonson, New York. It's in the mountains, and I didn't want to insult anyone, so we were in the middle of a cornfield, and we put the word out. We needed a drummer. Our first drummer in the series, what will turn out to be a lot of drummers. So we had this drummer, and we started writing tunes. Andy started writing. He came right up to his thing. His thing was songs and ideas, and I'm who I am, and we put together some songs, and we had a friend of the band. His name was Richard Meltzer, who wrote for Crawdaddy and rock magazines, and but he was also friends with this guy Sandy Pearlman, and who was the manager of the Blue Oyster Cult. His friend was Andy as well, because Andy was a rock writer too. Andy had his own fanzine called the Teenage Wasteland Gazette, and wrote about him funny things, man. And so he was a rock writer, considered a rock writer, and he got a lot of the magazines. And so Meltzer was our friend, and Meltzer was a lyricist also for the Blue Oyster Cult, as well as a rock writer, a journalist. So Richard was friends with Sandy Pearlman, of course. Sandy Pearlman, their manager, their lyricist, the guy that invented their image, basically, that really eerie image of the Blue Oyster Cult, that we all know. With the symbol, with the anchor, with all that, all that symbol. He got Richard Meltzer got Sandy to come up and see us, to come drive up and see us in our house in the middle of a cornfield in Cohonson, New York, and we just we played, and obviously we just blew him the fuck away. And the first thing he said was, "Don't sign with Polydor," or something like that, or "Don't sign with RCA," or Sandy. And I'm like, we done shit, but Sandy saw promise in the band, and so he takes us down to New York City, gets us a demo budget from CBS. And next thing we know, we get signed.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. I mean, we didn't have to pay years of dues, smashing it in clubs. And, on one hand, maybe we should have been better, but things happen the way they happen. So we're down in the city. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this record is also going to go on to influence generations for quite some time. So it's amazing that you've got a couple guys who've never even played before. And Andy Chernoff goes on to be a really accomplished lyricist, wrote for Ramones and other things. And it's funny that you guys got on-the-job training.
Yeah, we certainly did. And I think when I look back at it, Girl Crazy was such a full of we're so full of there we go. We're so full of youthful exuberance and we weren't aware of anything that was going on. We were innocent, you know. We were yet to get fucked up in the, you know, we were virgins, you know. We had, you know, we weren't dour and unhappy. We thought everybody was gonna just go crazy for this band. We thought everyone was gonna love the Dictators, and little did we know, you know, your album cover with a wrestling outfit, and his name was Handsome Dick Manitoba. I mean, no one in the world got what we were doing. No one, you know. We thought everyone was going to love us, and well, we got our answer. But you know, we were able to play clubs, start playing clubs, and we were a really good band. And we just kept going and going, and we just kept getting better as a band. And CBS, we didn't last very long on CBS. And after that, we got signed to Electro Asylum.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, Ross, tell me a little bit about. Okay. So this is the record "Go Girl Crazy" right here. This is the debut, you know, the debut album. And explain to me what Dick Manitoba's role was, because at this point, Andy Chernoff is the lead singer and plays bass. What does? How does Dick get involved in this?
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to take another break again.
Okay.
All right. I'm really sorry. Hi, guys.
No, it's okay.
What's up? Pretty good. This is Gus. Oh, Gus. You just need a cake. Yes. You want to hang it out? Yeah. Credit card? Yeah. You're gonna go take that easy one. Okay, 6 and well, Tuve hit a 3-1 home run.
Yeah.
They're booing the shit out of him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay.
Alrighty.
Cool. Okay, so I was saying that Andy Chernoff was playing bass and singing, and so you were going to tell me a little bit. How did Dick Manitoba get involved with the band?
Well, Richard was Scott's friend from school, from public school and high school, and so Richard we got him, was like he wanted to hang with, you know, he wanted to hang with Scott and everything. So he had a car, and we got him to come up and to cook us breakfast. Originally, he'd be our breakfast chef. I mean, you know, because he was so nuts. He was just a party animal, and he was just big guy with a big giant Jufro, and you know, our breakfast chef, and he was funny as shit. So Andy would write a lot of songs about him. You know, Andy would embody him in a lot of our songs. You know, like Hounds in Class, the principal, you know, wailed his ass, you know, Two Tub Man, stuff like that. And so it just kept going and going. And then we got Richard to kind of be roadie, you know, but he used to smash club warnings with the truck. So not very good, you know, so we had to find something else for him to do. And so like one night it was a rainy night, like on a Tuesday night in Brooklyn, Sheepshead Bay, an old club called Popeyes, and it was like no one was really in the crowd, but everyone in the crowd was somebody. Like Chris Stein from Blondie was there, Eric Emerson, Magic Tramps, a couple of other people were in the crowd, and we go, Richard, you want to sing a song? You know, come up and sing a song with us, just out of the blue. So he doesn't know any songs, but he knew Wild Thing. So it was something that he could do, you know, like because you know, like you could see Blue Sheep, you know, something like that. He just came up, he was absolutely fucked out of his mind. Came up, sang Wild Thing, and the place went fucking nuts. I mean, the reaction was different that we were getting. So like, I think singer for a while, and that's what he became.
Yeah, he's almost a mascot in the beginning. You know, he's got this larger than life personality. He's a character,
Yeah.
and so on this first album, you know, he sings a little here and there. It's more like little, you know, it's a smaller role.
Snippets, yeah, because he really couldn't sing, but you know, he got better. You know, within, you know, as time moved on. So, you know, playing shows, people were really digging it, and so, you know, what can I say?
Could you have any idea? I mean, this is a tricky question, but that record was going to be as influential as it's become?
No, I really didn't. I think it was going to be just another record by another band. I knew it was great. I knew we had special songs. I knew it had something. It definitely had something. It had definitely sense of humor to it. It had great songs, Cars and Girls, Weekend, Next Big Thing, Teen General, you know, a lot of, you know, Mess Race Rock, Back to Africa, you know, and the two covers, I Got You, hilarious. And
Yeah.
California, the immortal California Sun, of course. And I knew we had something, but I didn't know that as time went on, people would just love this freaking record. So I didn't know exactly how much of an influence it would have. Then a year went by, and this band called the Ramones, and they were from Queens, and we're from the Bronx, and this band called the Ramones, they also did California Sun, and they also had a very, like I was looking. I mean, if you look at me on the inside of the cover with the leather jacket and my hair, when I looked at the Ramones, I told Scott, you know, it's like, I mean, not that they did it on purpose, but it was uncanny how I looked like I was in the Ramones. A lot of people bring that up to me, but so that was cool. And
First song on Go Girl Crazy sounds very similar to what Ramones would later sound like. You know that it.
Yeah, and there were a lot of and you know, and as time went on, we became really good friends with them, and Andy had a really good relationship with Joey, and it was just a great relationship. Right into the end, when Joey passed, Andy was in the room, the hospital, with Joey, and you know, we truly miss them. I truly miss all of those guys. As a matter of fact, we closed CBGB's. We played the last weekend of CBGB's, the Friday and Saturday night. The last song that was played on that stage was Blitzkrieg Bop, and we brought up Tommy Ramone to sing Blitzkrieg Bop with us, and it was like the last song, you know.
Oh, great!
But she's not really punk rock. She's great, but she's not punk rock.
Who was it?
Tommy Ramone.
But who are you saying wasn't punk rock?
Patti Smith.
I still hear you. Patti Smith?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I agree with you. She's part of that New York scene, but definitely not punk rock. I've got to say, one of the thrills for me was I got to see you play with your band, the Spinacheras, many years later at the Continental Divide. Don't look for it. It's no longer there. And Joey Ramone lived across the street. And so we came to see you, and here comes Joey Ramone, you know, across the street. And if you lived in New York at the time, that was a common thing to see. Looking back now, you know, you're seeing rock history. So it was very cool to see him supporting you guys and what you did as well.
He was a scene maker. He was everything really round around him, you know, after Ramones had stopped. And he was great. Such a great guy. There was nothing he asked me to do that I wouldn't do for him. As a matter of fact, he got me to join Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, because I wasn't going to go in again, but he convinced me to do it, and I'm glad.
Well, we're going to build up to Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, because that's an interesting one. But before we get there, we got Manifest Destiny. This is 1977 now.
Yeah.
And punk is now starting to begin.
Definitely. All these bands, we CBGB's was full gears. All the bands started playing down at CB's, and it was a place for us to play. It was a dump, but it was our dump. And all these bands would start playing CBG. Basically discovered the place. Tom Verlaine, Television, Ramones would play a ton. Hilly, the Crystal, the owner, was kind of like managing the Dead Boys, so they would be playing there. We were playing there even after the Wayne County incident. So we were like selling out 2 shows a night. And
I think you might have to explain the Wayne County incident, because the average person might not know.
Oh, well, okay. So Wayne County, before he was Jane, figure on the scene, and Wayne County was playing at CBGB's one night, and Manitoba, who was drunk as usual and fucked up and belligerent in the crowd, was like doing something and saying, and Wayne took exception, got scared or something, and then he kind of like launched a mic stand. He kind of launched a mic stand at Manitoba and broke his collarbone. He was on, you know, so Wayne was on stage, Richard, and I don't know what Richard did to get that kind of reaction, but it was a definite overreaction by Wayne County, Jane County, and it was just everyone went bananas, man. It threw the whole scene into a civil war, basically, and then we couldn't play. We were banned from Max's, then we were banned from, I don't know, banned from CBGB's from playing, and then we got him we were going to arrest him, and I mean, because he was assault and battery on my lead singer. It was assault and battery on a person. That you can't do that. You know, when you're on stage, you have power for people. You can't do that. I mean, you just can't. No. Assault somebody with a mic stand. The mic stand's a deadly weapon. So, you know, things went on, and then we kind of like called a truce. We called a truce, and Hilly lifted the ban. Hilly lifted the ban on us, and as I said, we just became one of the biggest bands down there. Just the good press, bad press. It was just insane, you know. So that's what happened, and finally, decades later, both of them kissed and made up.
That's a good thing, yeah. Now, so on this record, we're talking about guys who played in punk bands and heavy metal bands. I was going to say, other than you, I can't think of anybody, but on this record, Mark Mendoza plays bass, and because Andy left for a minute, but he comes back.
Andy left, came back to play keyboards, right? Andy's all the way on the left side, and then big monster with another Jufro, he's playing the bass, and I mean, it's really not a punk. That's not a punk image as far as I'm concerned. The cover of Manifest Destiny, but you know, we were still like something like Motorhead would be, you know, or Plasmatics or some band like that. So in the end, you know, we have this band. We have an enlarged band because we were, you know, Sandy Perlman arenas with all the bands that he was affiliated with, and we had an agency that put us out with ZZ Top, Uriah Heep, Kiss, you know, all these bands, again, all these groups that we really had nothing in common with. You know, so was it good experience? Amazing experience, but that's really one, you know, think that we were going to break in arenas. We break in, you know, it really didn't. You know, it gave me a lot of experience. It taught me a lot of things, but that really wasn't our calling to be like that. So,
yeah. And, you know, we're just talking about so many of these Blue Oyster Cult connections that happen with the Dictators. Also, Alan Lanier plays keyboards on the first album, and you know,
yes.
legend who's no longer with us. But you know, it's so that it's worked for you though, having that connection and getting them out there. Like you said, you weren't playing with bands like you, but at that time, there probably weren't many bands like you.
There was no band like us on that circuit for sure. And then the whole thing in England was happening. The whole punk thing was happening, and at that year, all of the Stranglers to go support them in England on the No More Heroes tour, and we did that. So that was very interesting. To be in England during that year was a crazy year. 77.
Yeah, most influential you know, year for punk rock music probably ever.
Yes.
And the scene developing in England exploding. We'll jump ahead a little bit to Bloodbrothers, and here that is. And at this point, Dick Manitoba is the lead singer of the band. He sings every song on the record. And it's in, like most great bands, people know you, but it's hard to break through. But Bruce Springsteen takes a liking to you guys. He counts off the beginning of the album, you know, in a kind of cool, uncredited little cameo.
Faster and louder. He goes, yeah.
Which has become, you know, one of the great punk rock songs, and it's a cool person to have in your corner. And to this day, you know, little Steven still plays Dictators on his radio show. Credits Dictators as being one of the most influential.
We have a song of the week with "Let's Get the Band Back Together" now.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that too. So this ends up being, you know, Mark Mendoza left after the second record. Obviously, he goes on to have success with Twisted Sister. This record, you kind of get back to what it was. Andy Chernoff's back on bass. Amazing songs on this record. Another super underrated record. If there's someone who doesn't know the Dictators, this is one you have to hear.
Yeah, I would say that Bloodbrothers, it's a great record in that I didn't have any lead overdubs like normally guitars. You know, I played all my solos with the track as part of the track, like we're performing, and you know, I had to make it all stand up. Yeah, I had to play, you know, and really mean it, you know, and that's one of my strengths to do that. So everything I played had to count because I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back and do it again.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, Baby Let's Twist it's a minor hit. It's playing on radio. People sort of, you know it at the time, but I don't think you guys are getting the success that you felt you should have and definitely deserved.
No, but you know, but at the same time, the legend grows. The band, the shows, the reaction to the band is pretty fanatical. Our hometown is insane with with fans, and you know, it's just the band we keep getting better at. I think we hit our stride. I really think we hit our stride with that, with Richie Teeter, Scott, me, Richard, and I think we really played some amazing shows. Amazing shows. Who like shows? Who like? We would always like love the Who. I mean, like, and Scott and I would always talk about that night. We saw them that night. And that night at the Fat, it was like when Townsend did this and when Townsend did that, when Keith Moon did that. You know, it was like we were like into that. We were like, just, you had to be there. You know, it was like our shows were kind of like that.
And like most of the great bands that didn't get the attention they deserved, it's almost like you appreciate it when it's gone. You guys became way more successful when you weren't even a band. The legend has gotten bigger, you know, and same with bands like the Ramones. Kids are discovering them way more than anyone did when they were active.
Like when the band called it quits, not like took a hiatus. We never called it quits. We never said we're breaking up. In '70, at the end of '78, and I went on to join Shakin' Street, in the French band that Sandy discovered in Paris. My Shakin' Street, Fabien, they all like worshiped the Dictators, all the French guys, and Trust and Telephone, and you know, people all over the world. I mean, you know, even Ronnie Dio, when I was in Shakin' Street, introduced me to Joey when I formed Manowar. But I mean, that's a whole nother story. But
yeah, we'll get to Manowar. You guys put the band on hold. You're going to go do other things for a while, but I want to fast forward to Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, which is 1990. Andy Shernoff sort of puts it together, writes the songs, and it's going to be Dick Manitoba singing. So my question for you is, one, why is it not called The Dictators? And two, how do you get involved in it?
Well, it wasn't The Dictators because it was only one guitar player. Only one guitar player. And Scott was doing the Del Lords at the time. And but we wanted to get away from the, you know, the Dictator stigma or whatever was attached to it. But everyone knew what it was. I wasn't in the band yet. The guitar player at the time was Daniel Ray, who was in a band called and who is a close person in the Ramones family. Produced a lot of their records, as well as, you know, Andy worked with them. Daniel Ray became the guitar player of Wild Kingdom, and then later on he was NYC for 7 years. Became my foil in the Dictators NYC. So I mean, we had a family type situation with Daniel, but then when I came in, I think there was something with Daniel not playing anymore. I go, get Ross in the band. Ross should be the guitar player in Manitoba's Wild Kingdom. And when the king says it,
yeah, and single Party Starts Now. It starts playing on, it started playing on Headbangers Ball. It was kind of crossing over into metal a little bit. It's kind of a Beastie Boys party song, and all of a sudden, you guys have a kind of new life. There's people who never saw the Dictators.
Yep, we had a new life that we was so close to becoming a hit. So close to becoming a hit. Sandy Perlman has an argument with Al Teller, the CEO of MCA Records, and who gets fucked? Wild Kingdom. So, but the record was great. It was mixed by Nevermind by what was his name? You gotta excuse my memory. Wild Kingdom was mixed by Andy. What was his name? I'm not going to look for it now. The guy that mixed our record, the next record that he was going to mix was from the Seattle band called what's his face? Nevermind. What's the band? Nirvana. The great Andy Wallace. I'm sorry. Sorry for my bad memory. But Andy Wallace mixed Nevermind. Nirvana record, but he mixed ours right before that. And but we all know what happened. And but Wild Kingdom was a great record. Wild Kingdom was one of my best records, guitar wise. It was man, I played my fucking ass off on that record, and it was all 2 minutes. You know, great shit.
The entire record is 25 minutes long, which is perfect. Music doesn't need to be so long.
No, not those songs. And I mean, I got everything in on that record, and it's just JP played. It was just great.
After that record, you guys play a bit as Wild Kingdom. You and Dick continue to play together for a lot of years. You know, we're skipping ahead. Obviously, everyone's going to have to stay tuned for part 2 where we get into Manowar. But I want to talk about...
Well, 1990, right? By 1996, the Dictators were back together again. We had an invitation to come to Spain from a really... this guy that owned the company called Roadrunner, this guy Pepe, saw us at CBGB's and said, you guys got to come to Spain and play. So I played, and the Spanish went fucking bananas for the Dictators. The Spanish literally went bananas for the Dictators. We kept going. We got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It was a phenomenon how big we got in Spain, and that was it. You can take it from there.
Yeah. So Dictators definitely has this second life. People are discovering. People like me who were too young to see Dictators the first time are hearing about it. Maybe I'm a fan of the Ramones and the Heartbreakers, and then people say, well, if you're a fan of punk music, you got to hear this band called the Dictators. It sort of became the cool in thing to know about, and was growing as time was moving on. But things change in the Dictators, obviously, many times. I want to talk about getting the band back together, which is obviously the new single, and also the Dictators is back together, but it is a different lineup. It's so of the original lineup, yourself and Andy Chernoff. Now, Scott Kempner was going to be involved, but sadly, he has the early stages of dementia, right?
Right. It's kind of excruciating to talk about. You know, Andy, we all had some business to do. We got together in 2019, started talking, and we had some business, financial arrangements that we had to do, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that started going down. And you know, as we were talking, I go, why don't we play? What's stopping us? Why don't we play? Why don't we do something? Why don't we get together? And Andy was going, well, I'm not going to work with Richard. So Andy doesn't want to work with Manitoba anymore. We kind of always resented him, you know, being forced upon the band. So, you know, and then there was some falling out, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get personal, air the laundry, but Richard was not going to do the project. We didn't have the drummer yet, and it was me, Andy, and Scott. So, okay, who are we going to get on drums? So, we had a couple of things, and then I said, how about Albert Bouchard? So he's hanging out, because I had already worked with him in a band called the Brain Surgeons. I already made a really good record with him with Brain Surgeons. I said, Andy, Albert Bouchard. And we all like, whoa, that's great. Let's get Albert.
He was also, for those who might not know, the drummer for Blue Oyster Cult.
Yes, Albert Bouchard is the original drummer with Blue Oyster Cult, which includes his brother Joe played bass. So the Bouchard brothers, and Albert is an incredible musician. I mean, he plays guitar, he does everything. Plus, he plays the best cowbell that's ever been known to man on the planet.
He's legend for it.
And not the best. And so Albert said yes. I always wanted it, and you know, and I said Albert agreed to do it. So, and then we had to you know, realize that Scott couldn't do it. You know, Scott was diagnosed with early stage, and he just couldn't do it. So it's the three of us now. It's Albert, Andy, and myself. And we are going to be adding another guitar player very soon, like maybe next week. And I can't tell you who it is yet until we know for sure. We're going to take it as a 4-piece and see what happens, you know.
And you can go to YouTube right now and check out some of the new music that you guys recorded. Right now, it's sort of singles, one at a time, which I think is the best way right now. I don't think people are looking for full albums at one time. Give them a good song. They want to hear your back catalog.
Right, good song, good video, then another song, another video. We're working on the third song right now. We have another one. The fourth one is in the can. We're writing new music. I wrote a great music. I got some great music for a new song. So it's all gone. It's all happening.
And for people who never got to see the Dictators, you are seeing the original lineup as close as it can be. Unfortunately, some people can't be here, and things with Dick Manitoba have gone differently. But this is really a chance to see the legends, and there's not many left. I used to say you should have a band called the Lower East Side Legends, and you'd have Sylvain and Cheetah Chrome, but luckily Cheetah's here. But most of these guys, unfortunately, the scene there's not many left to see. This is a real chance. If the Dictators should come to your city, you better see it, because it's the last bit of that New York punk history.
Oh, this is going to be something else. These shows, I guarantee you, they're going to be amazing shows. They're going to be great. The band will be great. I promise you. So.
And we're fortunate that music is starting to come back. People are starting to play. Things are starting to change. By the time people are watching this, shows will probably start getting announced. Things will start to happen, which is a great.
Yeah, it was great. Man, thank God, because I lost 90 shows.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And
90.
Yeah, and we'll use this as a tease. If you'll indulge me and come back for part 2, we'll talk more about your career, because the Dictators, while it's such an important part of your history, it's certainly not the only thing you did. 6 albums with Manowar, founded Manowar with Joey DeMaio. You become a heavy metal hero. You go from being a punk hero to a shredding metal hero. Not easy to do both of those things. Then the Ross the Boss Band, which is what you were talking about, losing so many shows as well, because you play these big.
4th record. We have 4 records out.
And you play these huge festivals, and people love it. They love your music. They love to hear you play the Manowar music as well. Other countries have always appreciated it more. Yeah.
And I have even another metal band called Death Dealer. The Death Dealer is another band with my buddy Scott, Stu Marshall from Australia, and Sean Peck from San Diego. And in the band LaPond and Steve Bolognese from the Ross the Boss Band. So 3/5 of my band is in Death Dealer. So it's a kind of a family affair. But Death Dealer has 3 albums out as well, and 2 more in the can and an EP. So no one's taking any time off, and when the green light is given, I'm going to have 3 bands that are going to be touring.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's about to get real busy for you. You're the boss of the batting cage, also, so you got a lot to juggle.
For me.
Yeah, and so what I was mention is that we're going to link in the description down below some of this music so people can check it out. Dictators, if you're new to that, you got to check it out. The new music as well, and then Ross's side projects. And now, if you're a heavy metal fan and you were watching this interview because you wanted to hear about the history of Manowar, which of course we all want to hear, and we're going to get to that, and we'll talk about the Sign of the Hammer and everything else, and that's going to be part 2. If you'll come back, Ross.
Yeah, well, this is my 3rd record. It's called By Bloodsworn. By Bloodsworn. This is the 3rd one, and one came out after that. This one. So you can tell where that is going. You can tell.
Yeah. And again, fans of Manowar are going to love your music as well. We'll get into it in part 2, but Manowar doesn't play very much. They want to hear those songs. I think they got to come see Ross the Boss.
Do it right. Do it the right way. It's all classical RTB era. You know, those first 6 records. Unbelievably, we did 6 records in 6 years as well as touring, and that's a lot of work. And the next record they put out was 6 years after that.
Yeah.
After I left.
So that's just a Manowar teaser. We're going to get into it. I want to thank you for spending a little time with me, wasting a little time with me. We can get back to the Yankee game because that's really what we should be doing right now.
Thank you so much for having me, and we'll reschedule for the rest of the interview. And it's been a blast. Thank you for putting up with all the noise in this place.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ross.
Okay, take care.